Remove this trash from my office. The voice was sharp, cold. Layla froze. She was holding a half-full trash bag when the man in the gray suit turned. His eyes flicked over her like she was invisible. He kicked the bin. Papers hit the floor. Move, he said. Layla bent down. Sorry, sir. The man turned away, talking fast in Arabic to his assistant. He didn't lower his voice. These Americans are fools, he said. We'll take their 600 million and they won't even know. The assistant laughed. Even the cleaner's kid doesn't understand a word. Layla's hand shook, but her face stayed blank. 45 days, the man continued. Then we own everything. The housing land too. Let the poor find somewhere else. He straightened his cufflinks, stepped on a page she'd just picked up, and walked out. The room went quiet. The smell of coffee and disinfectant hung in the air. Layla stared at the Arabic heading on the page in her hand. Temporary transfer of rights. She whispered, You shouldn't have said that where I could hear. The apartment was small. 1 room, 2 beds, a broken fan. Her mother, Ruth, sat at the table counting tip money. Mama, Layla said, that man tonight, the one with the watch. He said something. Ruth didn't look up. Baby, don't talk about those people. You do your work and keep quiet. He said he's stealing money from Haven Corp. 600 million. Ruth stopped counting. You don't speak Arabic. Yes, I do. Since when? Since I started learning online. Layla unlocked her old phone. The screen was cracked. She played a video. A reporter spoke in Arabic. Layla translated while it played. Her voice was calm. The minister denies corruption. The opposition says the new contract gives full ownership to foreign investors. Ruth blinked. You understood that? Layla nodded. He called me trash. Said Americans are stupid. Said the contract was fake. The real one gives him control after 45 days. Ruth stared at her. You can't repeat that, Layla. You could lose your job. I could lose mine. He said Monday's too late, Layla said. We have to tell someone. Tell who? Mr. Green. The finance guy. He signs the contracts. Ruth shook her head. He won't listen to cleaners. Then we make him listen. Ruth sighed. Baby, rich people don't hear us. They see uniforms, not faces. Then he'll see me, Layla said quietly. Ruth looked at her. The girl's face was steady, older than her years. She remembered what her own mother used to say, raise a child strong enough to speak when you can't. Okay, she said. Tomorrow we go. That night, Layla couldn't sleep. The city outside buzzed like a faraway storm. She replayed the man's words in her head, line by line. The Americans are fools. We'll take their 600 million. Let the poor find somewhere else. She grabbed her notebook from under the bed. The pages were full of Arabic letters, English notes written in the margins. She wrote the phrases she'd heard, slow, careful, exact. Her mother walked in quietly. You're still up? I have to get this right. Ruth leaned against the doorway. You scare me sometimes. Layla didn't look up. I just listen. Listening can get you hurt. Or it can stop someone else from getting hurt. Ruth didn't answer. She sat beside her daughter, watched her write, watched the small hand trace letters from a language no one expected her to know. Go to bed, she said softly. We'll handle it tomorrow. Downtown, in a penthouse high above the lights, Kareem Al-Fahid poured a drink. His assistant sat across from him, laptop open, numbers glowing on the screen. They'll sign by Friday, Kareem said. Then we shift the funds offshore. The assistant smiled. You're sure the Americans won't notice the clause? Kareem laughed. They can't even read it. He raised his glass. To easy money. He didn't know the cleaner's kid had already memorized every word. Morning came gray and heavy. Ruth wore her Haven Corp badge. Layla carried her school backpack. On the bus, Ruth said nothing. Layla watched the buildings go by, each one taller, shinier, harder to reach. At the security gate, Ruth showed her badge. We need to see Mr. Green, she said. The guard frowned. He's not taking visitors. It's about the Al-Fahid deal, Layla said. That got his attention. He picked up the phone. 2 minutes later, the elevator opened. They stepped in. Ruth's hand was shaking. If this goes wrong. It won't, Layla said. Mr. Green's office was bright, expensive. He looked up when they entered. Mrs. Carter? Is there a problem? Sir, Ruth said, voice small. My daughter heard something last night. Something about your deal. Green raised an eyebrow. Your daughter? Layla stepped forward. The man you met with, Kareem Al-Fahd. He spoke Arabic. He said the English contract is fake. Green leaned back. You understand Arabic? Yes, sir. He smiled politely, the kind of smile adults give kids when they're humoring them. What exactly did he say? Layla took a breath. Then she switched languages. Fluent, fast, perfect Arabic filled the room. We'll take their 600 million. 45 days. They'll never see it coming. Green's smile vanished. Say that again, he whispered. Layla repeated it, slower. He stood, walked to a file cabinet, pulled out a folder marked Naira contract. He flipped to the Arabic section. His eyes moved back and forth between the lines, his face draining of color. Who taught you this? He asked. No one, Layla said. I taught myself. He sat down hard. You're telling me this clause means full ownership, Layla said, not temporary partnership. Ruth stared at him. Sir, we just thought someone should know. Green closed the folder. You did the right thing. He looked at Layla again. Don't tell anyone else about this. Not yet. She nodded. Are you going to stop him? Yes, he said quietly. And you might have just saved this company. When they stepped back into the elevator, Ruth exhaled for the first time in minutes. You okay? She asked. Layla nodded. I told you he'd listen. Ruth looked at her daughter, really looked. You're something else, you know that? Layla smiled faintly. I just heard what no one else could. The elevator doors opened. Somewhere below, mops clanked against metal buckets. Somewhere above, men in suits were already panicking. And for the first time in her life, Layla Carter felt visible. Mr. Green's office was quiet. The kind of quiet that made you hear every sound. The air conditioner, the clock ticking, the hum from a computer left on. He looked surprised to see them. A cleaning woman in uniform. A kid with a backpack. Both standing by his door before business hours. Mrs. Carter, he said. What's going on? Ruth took a deep breath. Sir, I know this looks strange, but my daughter needs to tell you something. It's about the deal with Mr. Al-Fahd. Mr. Green frowned. The Naira deal? Yes, Ruth said. She overheard something last night. He glanced at Layla, then back at her mother. Overheard what exactly? Ruth hesitated. She speaks Arabic. That got his attention. She what? I learned it, Layla said. Online. I heard Mr. Al-Fahd and his assistant talking. They said the contract isn't real. The English version is fake. Mr. Green's expression didn't change, but his voice slowed down. You understand Arabic? Yes, sir. He leaned back in his chair. All right. What did they say? Layla swallowed. They said the contract gives them control after 45 days, not 60. They said they'll take $600 million from Haven Corp, and no one will notice. And they said the land from the housing project will be used for resorts instead of housing. Mr. Green blinked. They said all of that. Yes. I can repeat it in Arabic if you want. He raised a hand. Wait. You can actually speak it. Layla nodded. Do you want me to show you? He hesitated, then said, Go ahead. She spoke clearly, the same words Kareem had used. Her pronunciation was perfect. When she stopped, the room was silent. Mr. Green stared at her for a moment, then opened a folder on his desk. Hold on, he said. He pulled out a printed contract, pages with Arabic text side by side with the English translation. He looked at the Arabic, then at her. Can you read this part? Layla leaned forward, tracing the line with her finger. This says temporary partnership, but in Arabic legal terms, temporary means until ownership is transferred. So it's permanent, not temporary. He looked at the English translation. It said something different. He looked back at her. You're sure? Yes. That word, Nakal al-Milkiya, it means transfer of ownership. The translator you hired didn't catch it. Mr. Green stared down at the papers like they'd turned to fire. Who taught you this? No one, she said. I learned by myself. Ruth finally spoke. Sir, she's been learning languages for years. She helps refugee families in our building. We didn't think it was important until now. Mr. Green sat still for a long moment, then said quietly, If what you're saying is true, this company's about to lose everything. Layla looked down at the floor. That's what he said too. He laughed about it. Mr. Green took out his phone and called someone. Give me the Arabic version of the Naira contract. The full one. He hung up, then looked at them again. Do not tell anyone you came here. Ruth nodded quickly. Of course. Layla asked, Are you going to stop him? I'm going to try, he said. But this stays between us for now. If what you heard gets out, it could cause a mess we can't control. He stood up, looked at Layla again. You may have just saved us. In the hallway, Ruth exhaled hard. She looked pale. I can't believe that worked. Layla shrugged. He believed me. Ruth gave a small laugh. You scare the life out of me back there. Layla smiled for the first time that morning. You were the one shaking. I was terrified. I thought they'd call security. They didn't. Ruth stopped walking. Layla, what you did in there, that wasn't normal. You talked like a grown-up. Layla looked up at her. He talked to me like one, too. They reached the elevator. Ruth pressed the button. You go to school now. Pretend today's normal. It's not normal, Layla said. I know, but we still have to act like it is. The elevator doors opened. They stepped in together. Later that afternoon, Layla sat in math class, staring at the clock. She wasn't listening. Every time the second hand ticked forward, she wondered what was happening at Haven Corp. Was Mr. Green calling people? Was Kareem still walking around like nothing was wrong? At lunch, her friend Jamal sat next to her. You look weird, he said. Layla blinked. I'm fine. You sure? You usually talk a lot. Just tired. He shrugged and opened his milk carton. My mom said we might move soon. She wants that new housing project on the south side. Says it's supposed to be nice. Layla looked at him. Don't move there yet. Why? Just wait. Jamal frowned. You're acting strange. Layla forced a small smile. Yeah, sorry. At Haven Corp, Mr. Green stood in a meeting room with 3 other senior managers. He laid the contract on the table. I want this reviewed by a neutral translator, he said. Quietly. No emails. No chatter. Just get it done. One of them frowned. Why? The deal's final next week. I have a reason, Green said. Do it fast. He didn't mention the cleaning girl. Not yet. That night, Ruth got a call. She stepped into the hallway to answer. Mrs. Carter? The voice was Mr. Green's. Don't worry, nothing's wrong. But I want to thank you and your daughter again. You did the right thing. I had the contract reviewed. She was right. Every word. Ruth leaned against the wall. So what happens now? I'm handling it. Please tell her to keep this quiet. No talking about it to anyone at school. Understood. Yes, sir. He hesitated before hanging up. She's remarkable, you know that? I do, Ruth said softly. When Ruth told Layla, the girl didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then, so it was real. It was real, Ruth said. You were right. Layla sat down on the edge of her bed. What's going to happen to him? Mr. Green didn't say. He just said not to tell anyone. Layla nodded. Okay. Ruth sat beside her. You scared me, you know that? I know. You shouldn't have to deal with things like this. I was there, Layla said. I heard him. What was I supposed to do? Pretend I didn't? Ruth didn't answer. She just put her hand on Layla's shoulder. 2 days later, Kareem walked into the same conference room with his assistant. He smiled like nothing had changed. But when he looked at the people waiting for him, Green, 2 lawyers, and a translator, his smile faded a little. The translator spoke fluent Arabic. Every word Kareem said was repeated in English right after. He realized then that something had shifted. Still, he pretended. Of course, gentlemen, let's review the final details. Green watched him carefully, saying nothing. He just nodded. We'll be in touch soon. Kareem didn't notice the quiet phone recording on the table. He didn't know what was already in motion. That night, Layla and Ruth sat at the same table they always did. Dinner was simple: rice, beans, and bread. Do you think it's over? Layla asked. Ruth shook her head. Not yet. But it started. Layla stared at her food. He looked so sure of himself. They always do, Ruth said. Until they're not. They ate in silence for a while. Then Ruth said, You did something brave, Layla. I don't think you understand how big this is. Layla looked at her mom. I didn't do it to be brave. I just didn't want him to get away with it. Ruth smiled a little. That's enough. Downtown, Kareem sat alone in his hotel suite. His phone buzzed with messages from his legal team. He scrolled through them, annoyed. One message stood out. Need to talk. Problem with contract translation. He frowned, poured another drink, and muttered to himself. Americans can't even read Arabic. What problem? He didn't know a 13-year-old kid was the problem. Mr. Green didn't sleep much that weekend. The translation team confirmed everything Layla said. The Arabic version of the contract had multiple hidden clauses, all written to transfer ownership to Naira International after 45 days. The English version was a decoy. He'd been in business long enough to know what that meant. Someone inside Haven Corp helped Kareem write it. By Monday morning, Green had called for a closed meeting with the senior legal team. The conference room smelled like burnt coffee. Everyone looked tired. Papers were stacked high on the table. Green spoke first. I had the Arabic sections of the Al Fahd contract rechecked by an independent translator. The results are bad. Margaret Foster, the head of legal, frowned. Bad how? They don't match. The Arabic text transfers full ownership to Naira after 45 days. The English text says temporary partnership. That's impossible, she said. We paid top translators. Green slid the printed reports across the table. Apparently not. Robert Carter, one of the older partners, picked up the pages. Where did this come from? Doesn't matter right now, Green said. What matters is it's real. Margaret's eyes narrowed. It matters a lot, Michael. If you're accusing our translators of malpractice, I need to know who raised the issue. Green hesitated. A source. Robert smirked. Anonymous, of course. Doesn't mean they're wrong, Green said. Margaret leaned forward. Michael, this deal has been in review for 6 months. We've had 3 legal teams, 2 translators, and 1 Arabic consultant on retainer. You're saying all of them missed this? Yes. Who's the consultant? Someone recommended by Naira International. That got everyone quiet. Green continued. It's a setup. Al Fahd planted the translator to slip the real clause in. And we almost signed it. Margaret rubbed her temples. We can't delay the signing without proof. Do you have recordings? Not yet. Robert crossed his arms. Then we're about to insult an international partner over a hunch. It's not a hunch, Green said. It's confirmed. By who? Green stayed silent. That afternoon, he sat alone in his office. He stared at the glass window overlooking downtown. He could see the reflection of himself in the glass. Tired, older than he felt. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Green? This is Layla. Is it okay if we talk? Mama said not to bother you, but I have something. He replied, come to the building. Use the service elevator. Security will let you in. Layla and her mother arrived an hour later. Ruth looked nervous the entire time. She kept glancing around like they were somewhere they didn't belong. Mr. Green met them by the break room. Let's keep this quiet, he said. They followed him into his office. He closed the door. Tell me, he said. Layla opened her backpack and took out a small notebook. She flipped to a page filled with Arabic handwriting and notes. He used more than one dialect, she said. Mostly Gulf Arabic, but some Egyptian words too. I think he did it to confuse your translator. Green nodded. Makes sense. I also remembered something else, Layla continued. He mentioned a lawyer. He said they already paid someone in your company to help if anything went wrong. Green's jaw tightened. Someone inside? Yes. He said the American lawyer will clean it up if we get caught. That's what I heard. Ruth looked uncomfortable. She's sure, sir. She's not guessing. I believe her, Green said. He leaned back. Do you remember the lawyer's name? No. He didn't say. Just said the American lawyer. Green ran a hand through his hair. That narrows it down to half the firm. He looked at her again. You're positive about everything you heard? Layla nodded. Every word. He stared at her for a long moment, then smiled slightly. You have a good memory. Ruth said softly. She doesn't forget much. Later that evening, Green called Margaret. We're not signing anything until I figure this out. You can't cancel, she said. We'll look paranoid, and Naira's lawyers will demand penalties. Then they can demand, Green said. I'll take the heat. Margaret's tone turned sharp. Michael, are you protecting someone? This sounds personal. It's not, he said. It's survival. The next day, Naira's delegation arrived early. Kareem Al Fahd walked in like a man already celebrating. His assistant followed, phone in hand. Mr. Green, Kareem said with a smile. I hear there's some confusion. Shall we clear it up? Green kept his face neutral. We're reviewing the translation again. There are discrepancies. Kareem's smile didn't move. I assure you everything is accurate. Then you won't mind waiting until the new translator finishes. Kareem's tone hardened. We've spent months negotiating. Delays make us look weak. Green met his eyes. Better weak than stupid. Kareem blinked. Excuse me. You heard me, Green said. No signatures until every clause is verified. Kareem straightened his tie. Very well, but I assure you, Mr. Green, everything is in perfect order. He turned and walked out. Green waited until the door closed, then called security. Give me access to the visitor logs. I want to know which of our lawyers met with him off-site. That night, Ruth cooked rice and beans again. Layla helped set the table. Neither spoke for a while. Then Ruth said, Did he talk to you today? Yes, Layla said. He believes us. You think it's enough? I think he's scared now. Ruth nodded slowly. Good. Maybe he should be. Layla smiled. Mama, what? You're not mad at me anymore? Ruth looked at her daughter for a second. I never was. I was scared. There's a difference. Layla poked her rice with a fork. He called you a monkey. I know. You didn't do anything. I did, Ruth said. I taught you how to listen. You did the rest. Across town, Kareem met his assistant in the hotel lobby. They're stalling, the assistant said. Something's wrong. Kareem frowned. Did anyone talk? No. I checked. Kareem's jaw tightened. Then how the hell did they find out? The assistant hesitated. There was a cleaner in your office that night. Kareem froze. A cleaner? Yes. A kid. Kareem's face went still. A kid? Yeah. The janitor's daughter. Small, maybe 13. Kareem didn't move for a moment. Then quietly, get her name. The next morning, Ruth noticed a black car parked across from their building. She tried to ignore it, but it stayed there when she left for work. Layla caught her staring. What's wrong? Nothing, Ruth said. Just hurry. You'll miss the bus. But she kept looking at the car long after Layla walked away. Inside the car, Kareem's assistant was on the phone. Found her, he said. Lives in the West Side projects. Apartment 2B. The mother works night shifts at Haven Corp. On the other end, Kareem's voice was calm. Good. Keep watching. I want to know what she tells them next. That afternoon, Layla was at the library, headphones in, reviewing Arabic vocabulary when she noticed something. A man she didn't know was sitting 2 tables away. He wasn't reading, just scrolling on his phone, occasionally looking up. She recognized him, Kareem's assistant. Her stomach dropped. She packed her things quickly and left through the back door. When she got home, she locked the door and waited for her mom to come back. When Ruth walked in, Layla was pacing. Mama, someone was following me. Ruth's face went pale. What do you mean? The man from the office. Kareem's assistant. Ruth locked the door again and closed the blinds. Okay, we'll figure this out. She grabbed her phone. I'm calling Mr. Green. Layla watched her mom's hand shake as she dialed. Mr. Green? It's Ruth Carter. I think they know. Ruth's hand shook as she held the phone. Mr. Green, he's watching us. The man from the office. Kareem's assistant. He was outside our building this morning. My daughter saw him again at the library. Green's voice on the other end was calm but tight. Don't panic. Stay inside tonight. I'll handle it. Handle it how? I'll call security and legal. You'll be safe. I promise. Ruth didn't sound convinced. I'm not used to men in cars watching my kid. I know, he said. Just keep your doors locked. She hung up. Layla sat at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. Are we in trouble? Ruth looked at her. I don't know yet. The next morning, Green walked into Haven Corp early. He hadn't even taken off his coat before his assistant said. The partners called an emergency meeting. They were waiting. Of course they were. He delayed the Al Fahad signing again. That meant lost money, bad press, angry executives. When he walked into the boardroom, everyone was already there. Margaret Foster sat at the head of the table. Robert Carter and James Sullivan were next to her. All of them looked annoyed. Michael, Margaret said. What exactly are you doing? Protecting the company, Green said. By accusing our biggest foreign partner of fraud? She snapped. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm confirming facts. Robert leaned back. And your facts come from where? Still won't tell us. Green folded his arms. A reliable source. Sullivan scoffed. A reliable source who won't give a name. Sounds solid. Margaret cut in. You've embarrassed this firm, Michael. The Al Fahad Group has called twice demanding answers. They say you're trying to sabotage the deal. I'm trying to stop a crime, Green said flatly. Robert laughed once. A crime based on something a cleaning lady's kid overheard. The room went silent. Green's eyes narrowed. How do you know who the source is? Robert froze. I heard rumors. Rumors from who? No one answered. Green's voice hardened. That's confidential information. If it's already out, someone's leaking inside this company. Margaret crossed her arms. You brought this on yourself, Michael. You told too many people you were rechecking the contract. Al-Fahad knows. Green felt his stomach drop. What do you mean he knows? He called this morning. Said your so-called translator is spreading lies. He's furious. Sullivan added. He wants a public apology before Friday. Green looked around the room. You people really don't get it. This isn't about pride. This is about $600 million. Robert rolled his eyes. You're making us sound paranoid. Then be paranoid, Green said. Because he's already watching the kid who exposed him. Margaret frowned. What kid? The girl who hurt him. She's 13. She translated the contract better than anyone in this building. Sullivan laughed. You're joking. She's the one who saved us, Green said. Without her, this company would have been robbed blind. Margaret stood up. You're telling me you're basing our corporate response on a middle schooler? Yes, Green said. Because she's right. Robert muttered. Unbelievable. Margaret pointed toward the door. This conversation is over. You're suspended from all contract negotiations until further notice. I'll handle the deal myself. You can't, Green said. I just did, she said and left the room. Green went straight to his office, shut the door, and called Ruth. Pack a bag, he said. I'm sending a company driver to move you to a hotel tonight. Why? Ruth asked. They know who you are. They're watching you. Layla's voice came from the background. It's okay, Mama. Let's go. Ruth didn't argue. She just said, all right, we'll wait. That afternoon, Margaret called Kareem. Mr. Al-Fahad, I want to apologize for the confusion, she said smoothly. Our finance team overstepped. Kareem's voice was polite but cold. No harm done, Mrs. Foster. I look forward to resuming tomorrow. Of course, she said. After hanging up, Kareem turned to his assistant. She's weak. We'll finish tomorrow. But make sure the girl and her mother stay quiet until then. The assistant nodded. Already watching. At the hotel, Layla sat on the edge of the bed. It was nicer than anywhere she'd ever stayed. Clean sheets, soft lighting, breakfast coupons on the counter. None of that mattered. Mama, she said, what if they come here? They won't, Ruth said. Mr. Green said we're safe. Layla wasn't convinced. She stared at the window. The parking lot below was full of cars. One of them was black, same as the one from before. Maybe we shouldn't stay, she whispered. Ruth walked over and closed the curtains. We're staying. The next morning, the conference room at Haven Corp was full. Margaret sat at the center, smiling for the cameras. Kareem and his team walked in first, confident. Green walked in a minute later, uninvited. Margaret turned. You're not supposed to be here. I am now, he said. Kareem smiled. Mr. Green, I hope the misunderstanding has been cleared up. Almost, Green said. He nodded toward the door. The door opened again. Ruth and Layla walked in. Margaret stood. What is this? This, Green said, is the person who caught your mistake. Kareem's eyes went cold. You brought her here? Layla stayed silent. She stood behind Green, looking at the floor. Margaret hissed. Michael, this is insane. Let's test something, Green said calmly. Layla, can you read this section? He handed her the Arabic contract. Layla read aloud in Arabic. Then she translated. This line says the ownership will be transferred to Naira after 45 days. The room went dead quiet. Green turned to Kareem. Is she wrong? Kareem smiled stiffly. The child misunderstands. Arabic law is complex. Not that complex, Green said. We had it reviewed by 3 independent experts. They all said the same thing. You were stealing from us. Kareem's jaw tightened. This is absurd. Layla spoke softly but clear. You said Americans are stupid. You said we wouldn't notice. You said people like us don't matter. Margaret whispered, oh my God. Kareem glared at her. You little. Security stepped closer. Green raised a hand. Careful, Mr. Al-Fahad. Robert leaned over to Margaret. He's finished. Margaret looked sick. So are we if this leaks. Green faced her. It already will. I called the FBI this morning. Kareem froze. You did what? They're on their way, Green said. You tried to scam a U.S. corporation. That's wire fraud. For a second, nobody spoke. Then Kareem turned to his assistant. We're leaving. Not until agents clear you, Green said. As Kareem moved toward the door, two men in dark suits stepped in. Mr. Kareem Al-Fad? One said, showing a badge. We need you to come with us. Kareem's face went pale. This is a mistake. No, Green said. The mistake was thinking no one was listening. The room emptied slowly after that. Reporters outside started calling the company for comment. Margaret sat in her chair, staring at nothing. Robert walked out without a word. Layla stood by the window, watching the FBI car leave. Ruth put a hand on her shoulder. You did it. Layla didn't say anything. She looked at Green. What happens now? He smiled tiredly. Now we clean up the mess. Ruth asked quietly, are we safe? You're safe, Green said. I'll make sure of it. He walked over and held out his hand to Layla. You saved hundreds of jobs today. Don't ever think people like you don't matter. Layla shook his hand. I just didn't want him to win. That's enough, Green said. That night, back at the hotel, Ruth turned on the TV. The news headline read, Haven Corp stops $600 million fraud scheme. Below it, source, 13-year-old janitor's daughter. Layla groaned. They found out. Ruth smiled faintly. They were going to anyway. Layla leaned against her mom. What happens when school finds out? Ruth laughed quietly. Guess you'll have to sit through a few awkward assemblies. Layla sighed. Worth it. The next morning, the building was louder than usual. Phones ringing nonstop. Cameras outside. News vans parked along the sidewalk. Layla sat in a small office with her mother. Mr. Green had given them coffee and muffins. She wasn't hungry. Neither was Ruth. They know everything already, Ruth said quietly. Our names are online. Someone leaked it. Green looked tired. It wasn't me. The press found out when the FBI showed up. Ruth sighed. My boss called this morning. They said I don't have to come in until things calm down. That's code for you're fired. I'll handle that, Green said. You won't lose your job. Ruth looked at him. You can't promise that. I can try. Layla spoke for the first time. What happens to Kareem? He'll face charges, Green said. Fraud, conspiracy, a few others. But his lawyers will fight. It'll take time. Layla nodded. He'll blame me. Green shook his head. He can't touch you now. Ruth looked toward the window. You sure about that? We had a car following us 2 days ago. That's over, Green said. FBI's keeping an eye on him. You're safe. Layla still looked uneasy. It doesn't feel over. Green paused. You're right. It's not over yet. But we'll get there. By noon, the news spread everywhere. 13-year-old girl exposes $600 million corporate fraud. Haven Corp employee's daughter prevents major scam. Layla's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Reporters, unknown numbers, even a few classmates. Jamal texted, Is that really you on TV? Then another. That's crazy, Layla. You're famous. She didn't answer. She turned her phone off. Ruth sat next to her on the hotel bed. You okay? Layla shrugged. Everyone's calling me a hero, but I don't feel like one. What do you feel like? Tired, she said. Ruth smiled sadly. You sound like me after a night shift. Layla didn't laugh. They're showing my face everywhere. People are saying things online. Good things. Some not. Ruth frowned. Not. Layla looked down. One comment said we made it up for attention. Another said Mom probably told me to lie for money. Ruth's shoulders tensed. People talk trash. That's what they do. I shouldn't have talked at all. Don't say that, Ruth said. You did the right thing. Layla stared at the floor. I know, but it doesn't feel right anymore. Later that day, Green came back with a security officer. You'll stay here another night, he said. Then we'll move you to a different place. Safer. Quieter. Ruth asked, Is someone still watching us? Not anymore, Green said. But the media is too close. We just want to give you space. Layla looked up. Can I still go to school? Not this week, Green said. The school's full of reporters. Ruth nodded slowly. So we're just supposed to hide? For now. That night, Layla lay awake again. The hotel TV was on mute, showing her face from a clip earlier that day. She hated it. She turned the screen off. Her mom was asleep on the other bed, hands still holding the TV remote. Layla got up quietly and opened the curtain a bit. The parking lot below looked calm, but she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still watching. She sat down on the carpet by the window and pulled out her notebook. Arabic words filled the pages. Next to them were translations, notes, little doodles. She wrote a new sentence at the bottom. Sometimes telling the truth is the hardest language to speak. Then she crossed it out. It sounded dramatic, and she hated that. She just wrote instead, "I wish people would stop calling." The next morning, Green called them into the office again. Margaret Foster was there too. She looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Carter, Layla," Margaret said, "I owe you both an apology." Ruth didn't say anything. Margaret continued, "You were right. We all owe you. I misjudged the situation." Layla nodded politely. "It's okay." "It's not," Margaret said, "and I plan to make it right." She slid a folder across the table. "Mr. Green and I talked. The company wants to offer a reward." Ruth frowned. "Reward?" "A scholarship for Layla, full coverage for college, and financial assistance for your family." Ruth blinked. "That's too much." "You saved this company," Green said. "This isn't charity. It's payment for work you did." Layla looked down. "I didn't do it for money." Margaret nodded. "We know. That's why you deserve it." Ruth's eyes were shiny, but she tried to keep her voice steady. "Thank you." Margaret smiled slightly. "You earned it." After they left the office, Layla and Ruth sat in the lobby for a while. People passed by, some whispering. A few stopped to thank them. Ruth looked at her daughter. "You okay?" "I don't know," Layla said. "It's weird. Everyone's nice now. Yesterday, they wouldn't even look at us." "That's how people are," Ruth said. "They believe what's convenient." Layla nodded. "Feels fake." "Maybe. But sometimes fake help is still help," Ruth said. "Take it anyway." That night, Green walked in his office to find Layla sitting there, waiting. "Hey," he said. "Everything all right?" She nodded. "I wanted to ask something." "Sure." "You said there's still an investigation. Are you in trouble?" Green hesitated. "Some people want me gone for delaying the deal. But I'll be fine." "Because of me?" "No," he said. "Because I did my job." Layla looked unsure. "I didn't mean to cause problems." "You didn't," he said. "You exposed them. That's what good people do." She was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Green, do you ever feel like no one listens until something goes wrong?" He gave a tired laugh. "Every day." They both smiled a little. Then he said, "You know, you remind me of my daughter." Layla tilted her head. "You have a daughter?" "She's your age. Always asking too many questions." Layla grinned. "Sounds like a good thing." "It is," Green said. "Keep doing that. Keep asking." A few days later, Ruth and Layla moved back to their apartment. The hallways smelled like bleach and old paint, same as before. Neighbors stopped them to talk. Some hugged Ruth. Others just nodded. Ms. Fatima from 3B came out with a tray of cookies. "You proud of your girl?" she asked. Ruth smiled. "Always." Layla said softly, "Thank you for helping me learn." Ms. Fatima winked. "Now you can teach me English better." They laughed for the first time in days. That night, Ruth sat at the table writing a grocery list. Layla was on the couch doing homework. The news on TV was still talking about the case, but softer now, just updates, no headlines. "Feels normal again," Ruth said. Layla didn't look up. "Almost." Ruth smiled. "Almost is good enough." The next morning, Layla went back to school. The hallways were full of whispers. Some kids smiled. Others stared. Jamal ran up to her at her locker. "You really took down that guy." Layla sighed. "I didn't take anyone down. I just told the truth." "Still," Jamal said, "you're kind of a legend now." "I don't want to be." Too late. She shut her locker and walked to class. At lunch, one of her teachers came over. "Layla, can I say something?" "Sure." The teacher smiled. "I watched the news. I'm proud of you." Layla didn't know what to say. "Thanks. You reminded everyone that words matter." Layla smiled politely, but inside she just wanted to go back to being invisible. That night, at home, she opened her notebook again. On a blank page, she wrote, "It's strange how telling the truth changes everything and nothing at the same time." She didn't cross it out this time. She closed the notebook, turned off the light, and finally slept. The media didn't stop. Even after the FBI arrested Kareem, reporters still camped outside Haven Corp. Everyone wanted interviews, photos, and exclusive details. Layla didn't want any of it. At first, Mr. Green told her and her mother to keep quiet, to wait until the investigation ended. But one morning, a woman from a big news network showed up at their building anyway. She smiled, held out a microphone, and said, "Layla, can we talk about what happened?" Layla froze in the hallway. She was holding her backpack, halfway to school. Ruth stepped in front of her. "No interviews." The reporter kept smiling. "Just a few questions. You're a hero. People want to hear your story." "I said no," Ruth repeated. The woman nodded politely and backed away. But as soon as they walked inside, she turned to the camera crew and whispered something. The light came back on. By that afternoon, a video clip of Ruth closing the apartment door was already online. Exclusive. Mother of 13-year-old prodigy avoids questions. Ruth threw her phone on the couch. "They make it sound like we're hiding something." Layla looked up from her homework. "We kind of are. We're not hiding. We're just done talking," Ruth said. Layla shrugged. "Same thing to them." At Haven Corp, Green was fighting his own war. Half the board supported him for stopping the fraud. The other half blamed him for the public mess. Margaret Foster called him into her office. "Michael, this isn't sustainable. The press is turning this into a circus. Investors are nervous." "I didn't leak it," he said. "No one cares who leaked it. They care that our name's in the news." Green crossed his arms. "You'd rather it be their name in the headlines? The criminals?" "Don't twist this," Margaret snapped. "You made the right call, but the fallout is bigger than you think." "I'm aware." "Then act like it. Keep the girl out of the spotlight. We can't afford another headline." Green exhaled slowly. "You think she asked for this attention?" "I think she's a child who's about to be used by every reporter in the city." He didn't argue, because she was right. That evening, Layla and Ruth sat on the couch watching a rerun of Jeopardy. A commercial cut in, a teaser for a TV segment. Tonight, the cleaning woman's daughter who brought down a millionaire. Don't miss it. Ruth muted the TV immediately. "I hate this." Layla didn't look away. "They didn't even use my name this time. That's supposed to make it better?" Layla shrugged. "A little." Ruth turned to her. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Layla said automatically. Ruth gave her a look. "You're not fine. You haven't smiled all week." Layla sighed. "I didn't mean for this to get so big. I just wanted them to know the truth. Now everyone's talking like they own the story." Ruth nodded. "That's what happens when you tell the truth in public. Everyone takes a piece." The next day, Green visited their apartment. He looked exhausted. His tie was loose, his voice rough. "Mind if I come in?" he asked. Ruth nodded. "Of course." Layla sat at the table with her notebook. She didn't look up until Green said, "You okay, kid?" "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." She shrugged. "I didn't know the internet could be this mean." Green pulled out his phone and set it on the table. "You shouldn't read comments." "I don't. My friends do. Then they tell me." Ruth crossed her arms. "Can't you make them stop using her picture?" "I've tried," Green said. "But legally, once something's public, it spreads too fast. So that's it. We just live like this. For now," Green said quietly. "But I have an idea." Ruth frowned. "What kind of idea?" "Something better than running from cameras." He looked at Layla. "You want to tell your story your way?" Layla blinked. "What do you mean?" "Not to a reporter. Not for ratings. You tell it yourself. We record it. One time. You say what you want. After that, no more questions." Ruth hesitated. "I don't know. It's her choice," Green said. "If she wants control back, this is how." Layla thought for a moment, then nodded. "Okay." They filmed it 2 days later in a small conference room at Haven Corp. No makeup, no lights, just Layla, her mother, and Green behind the camera. He asked simple questions. "Why did you tell someone what you heard?" Layla looked down before answering. "Because it was wrong, and because I could understand it when no one else could." "What did you want people to know?" "That we're not invisible," she said. "Just because someone cleans the floor doesn't mean they don't hear what happens on it." Green lowered the camera. "That's enough." Layla nodded. "Good." He smiled a little. "You sure you don't want to say more?" "No," she said. "They'll twist it anyway." The video went online that same evening. Posted to Haven Corp's official page with a caption, "From a voice that stopped the fraud, unedited." It spread fast, but it wasn't like the other clips. No flashing headlines. No music. Just her voice, calm and honest. Within hours, Thousands of comments appeared. Some angry. Most supportive. She's brave. Give her a scholarship. This kid did more for justice than half of Congress. Layla didn't read them. She just sat with her mom in silence. You did good, Ruth said. I just told the truth. That's still good. A few days later, the FBI released a public statement confirming the fraud scheme. Kareem and his assistant were officially charged. Reporters finally left the apartment complex. The black car didn't come back. Life started to settle again. At school, Layla still got stares, but fewer now. Jamal asked if she'd seen herself on the news again. She said no. Good, he said. You look happier now. I am, she said. And for once, it felt true. At Haven Corp, Green sat through another board meeting. The tone was different this time. Margaret spoke first. Public opinions turned. The video helped. Investors are calming down. You did well, Michael. He nodded once. Thank the kid, not me. Already did, she said quietly. Robert Carter didn't speak the whole time. He just kept his head down. That weekend, Green stopped by Ruth's apartment again. He handed her an envelope. Company wanted you to have this. Ruth opened it. A letter from Haven Corp's board and a scholarship certificate with Layla's name. She stared at it. Is this real? It's real, Green said. They're calling it the Williams Grant. Full tuition, anywhere she gets accepted. Ruth blinked hard. I don't know what to say. Say you'll use it, Green said. Ruth smiled. We will. Layla came out of her room, holding her notebook. What's that? Ruth handed it to her. Your future. Layla read the letter twice. That's a lot of money. Green smiled. You earned it. She looked up. I just listened. He nodded. Sometimes that's all it takes. That night, Layla sat at her desk. She opened a blank page in her notebook. At the top, she wrote, the story everyone told isn't mine anymore, but the truth still is. Then she closed it, turned off the light, and looked out the window. The city was quiet for once. No cameras, no black cars, just the sound of traffic and the faint hum of her mom washing dishes in the kitchen. It felt normal. Finally, it had been 3 weeks since the arrest. The city moved on. The news cycle found new stories. For the first time in months, no one called Layla's name when she walked to school. Ruth was back at work. Haven Corp rehired her with a better position, cleaning supervisor. She got a new uniform and a small badge with her name on it. It felt strange, but good. Layla's days looked almost normal again. School, homework, dinner, sleep. Except sometimes when the halls got too quiet, she still felt like people were watching. Monday morning, Layla's teacher stopped her before class. Hey, Layla, he said. I heard about your scholarship. Congratulations. Thanks, she said. You planning to go to college early? I don't know yet. He smiled. You've got time. She nodded and went to her seat. Her classmates whispered a little, but no one stared anymore. That was enough for her. At lunch, Jamal sat next to her. My mom says your mom's famous now. Layla laughed once. She hates that. I would too, Jamal said. All those cameras. They're gone, Layla said. Finally, Jamal leaned on the table. You know, it's kind of cool. You changed stuff. That project? My mom said it's back on. Real housing, not hotels. Layla looked surprised. They're still building it. Yeah, Mr. Green talked about it on TV yesterday. So they're keeping it for families. People are already signing up. Layla smiled a little. That's good. Yeah, Jamal said. You did that. She didn't answer. She just opened her milk carton and looked out the window. At Haven Corp, Green was in his office going through files. A knock on the door. Ruth stepped in. Got a minute? She asked. Always. She sat down. I just wanted to say thanks. For everything. He smiled tiredly. You already did that. Not like this. You didn't have to help us. Or give that scholarship. You didn't have to raise a kid who saved my job. Ruth laughed quietly. She's something else. She is, Green said. How's she doing? Better. She's sleeping again. Not jumping at every noise. He nodded. Good. She deserves peace. She's writing more too, Ruth said. Her little notebook's full of new stuff. Different languages. Notes, quotes. I don't even know what half of it means. Green smiled. That's how you know she's learning. That weekend, Layla went to the community center for the first time since everything happened. Mrs. Fatima was teaching English to a small group of adults. When she saw Layla at the door, she waved her in. Come, come, she said. We missed you. Layla smiled. I missed you too. Now you can teach, Mrs. Fatima said, handing her a workbook. They need help with pronunciation. Layla sat down next to a Somali woman struggling with the word apartment. She said softly, apartment. The woman tried again. Apartment. Better, Layla said, smiling. Keep going. For the first time in a long while, she felt normal again. No cameras. No suits. Just people trying to understand each other. That night, Ruth cooked real food. Not instant noodles, not leftovers. Chicken, rice, and vegetables. The apartment smelled warm again. Layla sat at the table doing homework. Mama, she said, do you think it's weird that everything feels normal now? Ruth looked up from the stove. Weird how? Like nothing happened, but also like everything did. Ruth thought about it. That's just life. Things move, even when you're still catching up. Layla nodded. Mr. Green said something like that. He's right. Layla smiled. He's always right. Ruth laughed. Don't tell him that. He'll never shut up about it. They both laughed. Later that night, there was a knock on the door. Ruth opened it to find Mr. Green standing there with a small box. Sorry to show up late, he said, but I wanted to drop this off. What's this? Ruth asked. Something from the company. He set the box on the table. Inside was a brass plaque, in recognition of Layla Carter, whose words protected our work and our people. Ruth stared at it, speechless. Layla read it quietly. That's a lot. Green smiled. It's the least we could do. Ruth brushed her hand over the engraved letters. You didn't need to do that. I wanted to, Green said. People should remember. Layla looked at him. I don't need everyone to remember. Just a few people who listen. He nodded. Then that's enough. The next morning, Layla woke up early and went for a walk. The air was cool, the city still half asleep. She passed the bakery, the bus stop, the newsstand that once had her picture on it. Now it showed a politician instead. She stopped in front of the community notice board. A flyer was pinned there. Haven Housing Project, construction resumes next month. She smiled. It was real now. She took a picture of the flyer and sent it to Jamal with a single message. Told you. He replied a minute later. Guess you really did change something. Layla texted back. We all did. That afternoon, she went to the library again. Same table. Same seat. No one followed her this time. She opened her notebook and started writing. Not translations this time. Her own words. The first time I learned another language, I thought I was just learning words. But really, I was learning people. And when you understand people, you can't pretend you don't hear them anymore. She stopped, reread it once, then nodded to herself. She didn't care if anyone else read it. It was hers. That evening, Green met with the board one last time about the case. The investigation's closed, Margaret said. The company's cleared. Investors are back on track. Good, Green said. Margaret looked at him. You did well, Michael. I should have trusted you sooner. He smiled slightly. Apology accepted. When the meeting ended, he stood by the window, looking out at the skyline. For the first time in months, the view felt peaceful. That night, Ruth and Layla ate dinner in silence for a while. Then Ruth said, You know what's funny? When this started, I just wanted to keep my job. Layla looked up. Now you're supervisor. Ruth smiled. Yeah, and you're the reason. Layla shook her head. You're the reason. You went with me to tell him. Ruth raised an eyebrow. So we're both the reason? Layla grinned. Deal. Before bed, Layla stood by the window again. The city lights shimmered outside, soft and distant. She whispered to herself, It's over. Then she smiled. Finally. She turned off the light, crawled into bed, and this time, when she closed her eyes, she didn't see an office or a contract or a man in a black car. She just saw tomorrow. 6 months later, things finally stayed quiet. No reporters. No strange cars. No more calls from lawyers or journalists. Layla was finishing 8th grade. Her hair was longer now. She wore glasses sometimes when she read too much. Her notebook had tripled in size, the new one full of notes in Arabic, Spanish, Korean, and now Mandarin. She didn't talk much about what happened anymore. People still mention it sometimes, but she just smiled and changed the subject. One Monday morning, Ruth was getting ready for work. Her uniform looked crisp, almost new. She wore it with quiet pride now. Bus comes in 5, Layla said from the kitchen. Ruth laughed. Since when are you keeping time for me? Since you're always late. Ruth gave her a look. You getting smart with me? Always, Layla said, smiling. Ruth shook her head but smiled back. You got homework done? Yep. And I packed your lunch. Ruth blinked. You packed my lunch? Leftovers from last night. Chicken and rice. Ruth looked touched. You trying to make me cry before work? No, Layla said. Just keeping you fed. Ruth grabbed her bag and kissed her daughter's forehead. Don't stay up late tonight, genius. No promises. After Ruth left, Layla sat at the table with her laptop. She opened an email from Haven Corp. Subject line, Scholarship Program Launch. Your name on it. She scrolled down. There was a photo of a banner, the Layla Carter Initiative Supporting Education for Hidden Talent. She stared at it for a while. The photo showed a group of students smiling, some in uniforms, some in hoodies. Kids like her. Then she smiled just a little. That afternoon, she stopped by the community center again. Mrs. Fatima was teaching a new group, Afghan, Sudanese, Venezuelan families. When she saw Layla, her eyes lit up. My famous student. Layla groaned. I thought we agreed to drop the famous part. Fine, fine, Mrs. Fatima said, laughing. But you still teach, yes? Layla nodded. I can stay an hour. She sat with a teenage boy struggling with English forms. Here, she said, pointing. You have to write your middle name here. Not here. He nodded, embarrassed. Hard to understand. I know, Layla said softly. But it gets easier. You just keep trying. He smiled. You teacher? She thought about that. Maybe someday. Back home, the apartment was quiet again. Ruth got home late from work, tired but smiling. They promoted me again, she said. I'm now in charge of the evening shift. Layla grinned. That's awesome, Mama. Ruth nodded. Guess good things really do come around. They ate dinner together, pasta this time. Simple, warm, Ruth said between bites. You hear from Mr. Green lately? Layla nodded. He sent an email. Said the housing project opened today. Ruth paused. Really? Yeah. They named one of the new buildings after Ms. Gonzalez, the one who used to clean the West Wing. Ruth smiled. She would have liked that. She would, Layla agreed. 2 days later, the school held an assembly. The principal spoke about community, honesty, and courage. Then he said, we'd like to recognize a student whose actions reminded us what integrity means. Layla froze. She didn't know they were going to do this. He called her name. The gym clapped. Her classmates turned to look. She stood up slowly and walked to the front. The principal handed her a small certificate. Nothing fancy, just her name and the words for speaking up. She didn't say anything into the microphone, just smiled, nodded once, and went back to her seat. When she sat down, Jamal whispered, You hate that, huh? Every second of it, she whispered back. They both laughed quietly. That weekend, Green invited them to visit Haven Corp. He wanted to show them something. When they arrived, the lobby looked different. New paint, new signs. At the far end of the hall, a framed photo hung on the wall. Layla and Ruth, standing beside Green from months ago, smiling awkwardly for the camera. Below it was a plaque. Integrity doesn't wear a title. Ruth stared at it for a long time. She didn't finish the sentence. Green smiled. You two deserve to be remembered. Layla looked at him. I told you I don't like attention. He grinned. It's not for you. It's for everyone else who thinks they don't matter. Layla thought about that, then nodded. That's fine, then. After the visit, they stopped for ice cream on the way home. It was hot out, the kind of heat that stuck to your skin. Ruth got vanilla. Layla got chocolate. They sat on the curb, eating quietly. Ruth said, You ever think about what comes next? Layla shrugged. High school. College. Maybe teaching languages. Maybe law. Ruth raised an eyebrow. Law. Yeah. Someone's got to keep people honest. Ruth laughed. You sound like Green. Good, Layla said. He listens. That night, Layla was up late again. The city was quiet outside. She opened her notebook, the new one with blue covers, and wrote. Everything starts small. A word. A sound. A truth. People ignore it until they can't. Maybe that's what change really is. Then she closed the notebook, turned off the lamp, and looked out the window. The same city lights, same view. But it felt different now, like the world had gotten just a little bit bigger, and she had too. At the same time, across town, Mr. Green sat in his office. Most of the lights were off. Only his desk lamp glowed. He opened his email. A new message from Layla. Subject, thanks. Body, for believing me when no one else did. He smiled. He hit reply. You made it easy to believe. He closed his laptop and leaned back in his chair. For once, he didn't feel tired. A month later, Layla stood outside the construction site of the New Haven housing project. The buildings were half finished. Workers moved between scaffolds. She stood beside a new sign planted in the ground. Future home of Haven Homes. Affordable living for local families. She ran her hand over the edge of the sign and whispered to herself, looks real this time. Then she smiled and walked away. That night, Ruth tucked the scholarship letter into a small wooden box she kept on her dresser, along with Layla's baby photo, an old apartment key, and her wedding ring. When she closed it, she whispered, "We did okay." Later, Layla sat on her bed with her headphones in, scrolling through a new online course, Beginner Mandarin. She pressed play, and the voice started speaking slowly. She repeated the words out loud, matching the tone. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Halfway through the lesson, she smiled and wrote down a phrase in her notebook. Meyo shimibu kining. Nothing is impossible. She looked at the page for a long time, then underlined it once and whispered the words again. Steady, certain. Then she shut the notebook, turned off the light, and went to sleep. 1 year later, everything looked different but felt familiar. Layla was 14 now. Taller, quieter, more confident. Her braces were gone, and her hair was longer. She still carried a notebook everywhere, a different one now, with worn corners and pages full of words in half a dozen languages. The city had moved on. People stopped talking about the scandal. Haven Corp rebuilt its image. The housing project was finished. Families started moving in. Life didn't turn into a movie. It just kept going. Saturday morning. The sky was clear, the air humid. Ruth was at work early, managing her cleaning crew. Layla sat at the community center, helping kids with school forms. Write your address here, she told a boy who was new to the country. No, not the building number, your apartment. He nodded, trying again. Next to them, Mrs. Fatima was teaching a group of mothers basic English phrases. She waved at Layla. You're a good teacher now. Layla smiled. I'm just patient. No, you're both, Mrs. Fatima said. The small classroom smelled like pencils and cleaning spray. Kids laughed. Someone dropped a book. It felt normal. At noon, Layla walked home. She stopped at the new housing project on the way. The buildings were clean, painted white and gray. Fresh grass. A playground that actually had swings. She saw Jamal and his mom moving boxes into one of the apartments. Hey, Jamal waved. You came to see it? Layla smiled. Yeah, looks nice. His mom hugged her. We wouldn't be here without you, baby. Layla blushed. It wasn't just me. Still, you started it, she said. Layla watched the kids running across the playground. I'm glad it worked out. It did, Jamal said. Finally. Back at their apartment, Ruth came home a few hours later. She kicked off her shoes and sat at the table with a cup of tea. You hear about the new project opening? She asked. Yeah, Layla said. I saw Jamal there. They're moving in. Ruth smiled. Good. About time people saw something built that stays. Layla nodded. You sound like Mr. Green. Ruth laughed. Maybe I've been around him too much. Did he visit today? Yeah. He's still working crazy hours, but he's happy. He says the company wants to expand the scholarship program. The one with my name? Ruth grinned. Yep. The Layla Carter Initiative. Layla groaned. I told him not to name it after me. You know he doesn't listen. That evening, Ruth made dinner. Real food again, not takeout. While the rice cooked, she said, You ever think about that day? The one with Kareem? Layla looked up from her notebook. Sometimes. Not a lot. Good, Ruth said. Don't let it live rent-free in your head. Layla smiled. You sound like TikTok. Ruth pointed her spoon. Watch it. They both laughed. After dinner, Ruth turned on the news. No scandals, no breaking stories. Just weather and sports. Feels nice, huh? Ruth said. Quiet, Layla said. I like quiet. The next morning, they met Mr. Green downtown. He wanted to show them something new. He led them through Haven Corp's renovated lobby. A few employees waved at Ruth. She waved back shyly. They reached a hallway lined with framed photos. Green stopped at one near the middle. This one's new, he said. It was a picture of the first group of scholarship students, 15 kids from different neighborhoods, smiling at the camera. Below the photo, the Layla Carter Scholars, where potential gets a voice. Layla stared at it. You really didn't have to. I know, Green said. But I wanted to. Ruth looked at the plaque and then at Layla. You okay? Layla nodded slowly. Yeah, just feels weird seeing my name on a wall. It's a good wall, Green said. Layla smiled. Yeah, it is. Afterward, Green took them to lunch. The same diner he always went to, quiet, no fancy menus, strong coffee. They talked about normal things. Work, school, life. Green asked, still learning new languages? Layla nodded. Mandarin and Swahili. I can read most of it now. Ruth sighed. I don't know how you keep it all straight. It's easy, Layla said. Languages are like people. They make more sense when you stop trying to translate and start listening. Green smiled. You should write that down. She will, Ruth said. She writes everything down. Layla rolled her eyes. Mama. Later that day, Ruth went to visit a friend. Layla stayed home. She sat by the window again, the same spot where she used to worry about being watched. Now she watched the city instead. The buses, the kids biking, the families moving in and out of buildings. She pulled out her notebook and wrote. 1 year later. Nothing dramatic. Just quiet. Sometimes that's the best kind of ending. She paused, then added. But maybe it's not an ending. That evening, she met Jamal and a few friends at the park. They brought snacks and sat on the swings, watching the sun go down. So, Jamal said, you still think you're going to be a lawyer? Maybe, Layla said. Or a translator. Or a teacher. Jamal grinned. Or all three. Maybe. The others started talking about summer plans, part-time jobs, vacations, exams. Layla mostly listened. She liked listening. When it got dark, she stood up. I should go. See you tomorrow? Jamal asked. Yeah. She started walking home. The streetlights flickered on, one by one. Back at the apartment, Ruth was folding laundry. You're late, she said. I was at the park. Homework done. Almost. Good. You've got school in the morning. Layla smiled. I know. Ruth looked at her. You've grown a lot this year. Everyone does. Ruth nodded. You just did it faster. They both laughed. That night, before bed, Layla opened her laptop. She typed something into the search bar. How to apply for language research internships. She scrolled, clicked a few links, and smiled. Maybe one day. She closed the laptop, turned off the light, and looked out at the skyline one more time. The same city lights glowed, but they didn't scare her anymore. They looked like possibilities now. She whispered, "Good night, Houston." And for the first time in a long time, she fell asleep without a single worry in her head. 1 year later, the world didn't change overnight. But a 13-year-old girl who used to empty trash cans had changed a piece of it, enough to matter. And that was enough.